All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest, and we are officially at BYU week. It's going to be a ton of fun, guys. We're going to break it all down. We're going to talk BYU, talk Utah, the biggest matchup of the year, and one we've been waiting for nearly 4 years. The BYU game was like the second game from when I started this channel. So it is our first opportunity since I've really got the channel going for us to take on BYU. And it's super exciting. And I'm really thrilled to dive into it, guys. We're going to have a bunch of great guests on tonight that are going to make the show a great time, give their opinions, voice what they're thinking. I'm excited to hear it. I'm sure you guys are too. And on that note, let's go ahead and dive in and go Utes. All right, guys. So, like I said, it's going to be a ton of fun. I got a great lineup of guests for us. Before we dive into everything, please make sure you guys smash that like button. That'll help get the video out to more Utah fans. Also, comment down below. I want to hear your guys' opinions. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you're thinking. So, make sure you guys join in on the fun. If you can, retweet the video, share it with a friend, whatever. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, guys, we put out a ton of Utah Utes football content and, be along for the ride. One thing I do want to say that I didn't notice before this week, I didn't track how this lined up, but am I the only one that found it very peculiar that the red versus blue Utah versus BYU matchup was the weekend of the election? I as it came up, I do find that quite peculiar that Utah versus BYU, which is red versus blue, is right after the election. Obviously, the election could give a damn about Utah versus BYU, but I wonder if the scheduling committee, took that into account when they put the game on this date. I posted on Twitter earlier, guys, that spoiler alert, I think Utah is going to win this game. That's kind of what I put. And I'm going to break it all down for you guys. Like I said, we're going to have guests coming on here. So as they hop on, I'll introduce them. I'll bring them in. But in between guests, I'm going to talk data with you guys, and I want to hear your feedback. So feel free to jump in as we go through all this. The first thing I want to talk about is Utah. There's three big problems for Utah that I've been talking about a lot this year. And I'm sure most of you guys are already very familiar with what the big problems are, right? It's not exactly rocket science to figure out what we're struggling with. I'd say the first big one for me, I actually put a poll up. Let's see. Poll didn't get a ton of votes, but it got some traction. Let's see what we got going here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. So these for me were the three big problems for Utah. And I wanted to just get people's pulse, get the vibe check, see what people thought. So what do you think is the number one thing that we need to figure out if we're going to beat BYU next week? And I said, decent QB play, run defense, or third down offense. And, pick one of the three. And I think the popular opinion is to pick decent QB play because obviously that's a huge one, right? If you don't have a good quarterback, it's very hard, or a decent quarterback, it's very hard to win football games. But then again, we've really struggled with run defense. And third down offense has been abysmal, one of the worst in the entire country, guys. And the reason I wanted to show you that is as bad as our, third down offense has been, BYU hasn't exactly been good in their third down offense or their third down defense or third down offense. So I wanted to pull that up here. Give me 1 second. So total offense, third down. Conversion percentage. So this is BYU's offense, third down conversion percentage. And I think it's going to surprise you guys because obviously the big hype has been around BYU's defense. but I don't think we expected the third down conversion for their offense to be quite this low, especially with Retzlaff. His PFF grades very high, and he seems to be playing very well. This is where BYU's offense ranks in third down conversion percentage. Now, I do think it's a little deflated just because because they do well on fourth down, right? They do third downs to get short fourth downs, and they do go for it on fourth down a decent amount, right? But still, right? And now what I want to show you guys is Utah. Utah is abysmal in third down conversion percentage, but you guys think about how bad this offense has been on third down. This is BYU 32.93, and we've been watching Utah at 29.25 and how rough that's looked. It's not like BYU's doing way better than we are. So this is not a good third down offense. If anything, this is quite a bad third down offense, which bodes really well for us with the next stat. Okay. So let me show you guys why that's important. All right, I'm just going to stop sharing for a second while I pull that data up. And I'm going to show you guys Utah's third down conversion defense. And just to make sure, obviously, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but third down conversion is just what percent of your third down conversion percentage is what percent of the third downs that you go to do you actually convert. So let's take a look here. Look at Utah, guys. Number 2 third down defense in the entire country. Now, I think that's a two-headed monster, right? Where Utah's defense has been playing against offenses that haven't really had to push it, right? They haven't really had to say like, hey, we're going to take it to them. We're going to try to make plays. We're going to figure out a way to, make something happen. And I definitely think there's validity to that. But at the same time, even though there is validity to it, there's still the argument that it's a elite third down defense, right? As much as I was surprised our defense was this good at third down. I mean, number 2 in the country. I think a lot of people watching are probably a little surprised at that as well. Let me just tag this video so we can get some more people in here. Give me 1 second here. Forgot to tag it before we went live. Any BYU fans in the house as we get going here? Not a lot of people yet, so maybe not. Been a tough season, so I don't blame you guys if we don't get a ton of people tonight. But hopefully we get going. We've had some awesome live streams recently. We were at 600 people watching live the other night, so really awesome there. So everyone that was a part of that, thanks for joining. Cool. All right. Next up, let's look at Utah's BYU's third down defense. So, boom. All right. Oh my gosh. You guys ever switch from a Mac to a PC? Like my work computer is a Mac, and it is so weird to go to PC. It's just the whole Control F, Command F thing. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, yeah, you get it. Damn, I keep typing in Utah. Okay, and so this is where I would say for Utah fans, a big sign of optimism, guys. BYU, this defense has been made out to be this amazing defense for BYU, and they're 84th in the country with the 41.51% third down defense. So I would say for a Utah team that has been awful on third down, like really, guys, you think about what this third down defense has looked like. It has been embarrassing to watch, very bad. And BYU's defense, or this third down offense for Utah, the BYU's defense isn't that much better. And BYU's offense is razor thin margins of better, where our defense is awesome on third down, one of the best in the country. So I think that's a really good sign, guys. And I would also say when you look at BYU's numbers, some of them are inflated by recent weeks. Like right here, BYU, their last game, this is like what you did in your last game. They only allowed 20% of third down conversions, which is an amazing number. And this number is their last three, where they were allowing 52.38% third down conversion. So over the last three games, guys, they're a bottom four third down defense. And really think about that, how much has been made out about this freaking BYU defense. Anyways, we got our first guest on the line tonight, guys. We got Porter Larson. Excited to bring him in. He'll be joining us here. Porter, thanks so much for coming on, man. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. Sorry in advance. I
Oh,
I forgot
as
I
needed.
had some stuff going on today, and I am in my car. I was gonna stay at the studio. I was gonna give you the set the scene in the studio, but
Yeah.
here we are sitting in a parking lot and ready for rivalry week.
Well, you're usually in the studio, so it's an exclusive for us to get you in the
I
car.
know.
So
I
it's a
know.
win.
I'm in there enough, so we'll go with this for today.
Cool, guys. Well, excited to have you on, man. So, why don't you give us your thoughts? Obviously, it has been such a rough season. So, first off, kind of where are you at mentally as a Utah fan? How are you feeling? What are you hoping for the rest of the season? How's it been so far?
Yeah, it's obviously been super up and down, the roller coaster that the expectations gave you such a high early on in the season. You see Cam Rising not only in the fold, but looking good in his first matchup against Baylor. And then, the wheels started to fall off, and they did so in a similar fashion to last year when the injuries started to pile up. Obviously, Cam Rising is the one you look at and the one you focus on, but it was more than that. It was Junior Tafuna, it was Keanu Tanavoasa, it was Tavita Fotu. The entire defense was struggling with injuries early on. I think that was kind of masked up by all the noise about one Cam Rising. And man, I think a lot of folks are tired over, the way that the last 2 years have played out. And I understand that from a coverage standpoint, from a media standpoint. I mean, it gives us a lot to talk about. But man, I would love to just talk about a Utah football team that has their personnel and is going out there with the guys that we're expecting. That's not the case. It's not the case Saturday. It hasn't been the case this year. But that's in a vacuum, that is the story about the season. It is Cam Rising. It is the Utes for the second year in a row fighting the injury bug and really kind of losing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially the injury bug at quarterback, right? Where
Right.
it is frustrating to watch just, you know, not always rough. Like even last year, I think the story of last year was painted by the Northwestern game, right? Like there was bad QB play parts of the year. There's also Bryson Barnes took us into USC and won us the game, right? There was good
In
times
Florida.
too. Like yeah. Like there were good parts of that season too. But definitely some huge ups and downs this season specifically, right? If it, there it hasn't always been terrible, but there's been just you can tell we don't have a quarterback right now that can win us games. I think that's a
Right.
fair statement. Where's your head at with the quarterback situation? How optimistic are you that could it get a good amount better this year, moving into next year? What are you thinking?
I think this year, you hope for growth between one of Brandon Rose or Isaac Wilson, but you kind of have what you have at this point, right? You're not going to get Cam Rising. He's not walking through that door. If he is, he's wearing a walking boot or something that's going to prohibit him from playing. So you kind of have what you have if you're Utah. So you look at this team, you're going to get an identity of heavy run. You're going to get a heavy dose of Mekhi Bernard and maybe Jalen Glover. We'll see how that plays out. And the quarterback position is one where you want them to make as few mistakes as possible, operate Mike Bajakian's offense to a serviceable level, and don't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
That's
for
what
real.
Kyle Whittingham wants for the rest of the year. And if you get that out of Brandon Rose, if you get that out of Isaac Wilson, that is a plus. But I don't know that you're necessarily expecting that at this point because neither of those guys, if I'm being completely frank, is ready. And when you don't have a quarterback that is ready, you're kind of treading water. You're paddling
Yeah.
upstream a little bit. And that is how I feel this season will go. Um, Now, can you paddle upstream and still win a few games and get to bowl eligibility? I think so. I
Yeah.
think if you're asking Kyle Whittingham specifically, yeah, he can. Not many coaches could, but he can. It starts with having a good showing against BYU, though.
No, for sure. And you know what I think is another number, just while you bring that up, this BYU defense and us being able to not turn the ball over. I think turnovers, like obviously good coaching creates turnovers, right? But at the same time, turnovers are kind of like tight wins where you're going to
Right.
be on the good end and the bad end sometimes. And BYU has been living on turnovers. Yeah, like don't forget BYU's turnover margin got skyrocketed against Kansas State, 4 turnovers in 1 minute, right?
Right.
It was the craziest thing. And we have had the opposite where we're getting basically we're -4 on the turn or negative zero point 0.4 on the turnover chart, where they're positive, I think it's 2. It's very high. And so I think that's a good sign where we're a team that I think can play sound football and not turn the ball over. And we haven't had a ton of turnover luck. And you got to imagine this quarterback for BYU is going to be nervous coming in here. Before I drop you off, Porter, I know you're a busy guy. Why don't you give us your thoughts? If Utah wins, why do they win? If Utah loses, why do they lose? And what do you actually think is going to happen?
Well, in your question, you kind of answered it for me. It's the turnover battle, man. It's not just BYU that is creating turnovers the way that Utah is used to, and Utah lacking doing so. BYU scoring off of them. Yeah, I'll give you another number: 69-10 is BYU scoring off of turnovers against their
Wow.
opponents this year. Number one in the nation. That's number one in college football. And that is a number that I think will play into the game on Saturday. If Utah can do what honestly they usually do against BYU, you think of Francis Bernard, you think of Corey Butler
Yeah.
Bird, you go back to the history books, they seem to always pick off the BYU quarterback a time or two. If they can get one of those and score, I think this is going to be a dogfight, like a line of scrimmage. Just think of Kyle Whittingham versus Jay Hill in a cold November, right?
Yep.
I, I don't know that it's going to be 3-0. That was a different era of college football, but I do think this is going to be kind of a stalemate back and forth. And the team that wins the turnover battle usually wins those games.
Awesome, Porter. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Have a great night.
Yeah, have a good one, man. Thanks for having me.
That was Porter Larson. Again, Porter, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have some more guys hop in here through the night. Again, should be a ton of fun. Um, this is such an exciting game, and I think we're all in the same boat mentally. I think as we get closer to the game, you're just becoming more okay with where we are, right? You're not wishing it was something else. You're kind of, at least me, like as we get closer to the game, it's kind of like, hey, it is what it is. We got to live with what we've got, and we just got to make the chicken salad out of chicken crap, right? It's where we are. So we got another awesome guest coming on right now. We got Brian Ankrum, aka San Antonio Ute. This takes me back right here. You have a beard now, but this takes me back.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has, man.
We've done a lot of X spaces this year, and I know you attend some of them and speak in some of them, but yeah, we kind of took a hiatus from the pregame and postgame stuff this year.
No, for sure, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling me. How have you been?
Been good, man. Outside of the Utah football season, things have been good. Kids are growing up. It's been fun. As far as the season goes, definitely not the season any of us really expected. We expected a potential playoff run this year, to be honest, and hasn't come to fruition. It's been a rough 4 weeks, but we're still behind the team and confident that we can get a W this weekend.
100%, man. And kind of what I was touching at before I brought you on was, we thought that we would be the team that was undefeated or close to being undefeated with crappy little BYU walking into our stadium this year, and we were going to beat the crap out of them. That is not the case, right? BYU is potentially a first round bye CFP team. Like there is a real world where that happens. And I'd say it's a very realistic world where that happens. And but we can play spoiler. Like as we come to terms with where reality is, I don't know about you, Brian, but this nightmare of a season this past 4 or 5 weeks or whatever would feel a lot better. It really would. It would put a big smile on my face if we were able to beat BYU and take that CFP berth. Because if we beat them, they lose the next two games. You know.
Yeah. I think it would just take the wind out of their sails. And quite honestly, we need a little bit of that wind in our sails as far as the Utah football team is concerned, and Utah fandom. We need some of that excitement back, and we need just energy. It seems like the players the last few games just haven't really had that. Not a lot of aggression shown. I saw a little bit. I was at the Houston game when Brandon
really?
Rose came in. When Brandon Rose came in,
Good.
I visibly saw the team respond. I mean,
well, and I don't even care about the turnover. Honestly, it's like, yo, what's the point of not turning the ball over if you're not doing anything, right? Like, you might as well just turn the ball over if you're just going to punt it every 5 plays. So go on.
That's right.
I felt the same way.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Yeah, I mean, if you got to try to move the ball first and foremost. Obviously, as a Utah football team, establishing the run is huge. Mekhi Bernard has been great this year. Had a tough couple of games, the last 2, where he was held under 100 yards. But the boxes are getting stacked against him, similar to what we saw last year. So we do need to open up the passing game a little bit. If it's Brandon Rose, I've kind of read around on Twitter that it might be. He was in the media availability this week, so I can only assume it's him instead of Isaac. But I guess we'll wait and see. We never know until game time with Utah football and Coach Witt running the show.
Yeah, tough to get a read on Brandon Rose's interview. He almost felt like not super confident. At least that was the vibe I got. It was kind of a weird vibe in the interview. So I'm with you. I do hope it is, Brad. It was just an odd interview. He seemed shaken or something.
Yeah, I don't know if he just got done with a workout or what, but he was definitely a little nervous. I could tell in the interview.
Maybe he was just so hyped because he got told that he was going to be the starter.
Yeah.
And he knew he couldn't say it, and he was like nervous. Oh,
exactly.
You know what?
But yeah,
I actually had an accident happen right outside my house right before this stream started, and so I have to.
Oh no!
My wife just knocked. I told her to knock if I have to move my car. Brian, can you run for 5 minutes?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the San Antonio Ute Show. Go for it, Brian.
Well, so what I was saying before was with whoever we have at quarterback, whether it's Isaac or Rose, I think the biggest key is just get them some easy passes. Let's get them that confidence built up. We've been lacking confidence in the quarterback position now for I guess the last 6 games. The first 2 games with Cam running it, getting up big real early. I mean, we kind of had that confidence, but the last time I think we saw it really was probably the Oklahoma State game, maybe the first couple drives against Arizona. But let's get our quarterbacks a little bit of confidence going with some easy passes. Let's get a few screens mixed in. They did that last week with the first drive of the game. They did that little tight end screen to Keithy, and he took it 70 yards for a touchdown. So let's get some more of that going. Maybe some crossing routes. If Brandon Rose knows this offense like he should, being his 3rd year in the program, we should feel comfortable opening up the middle of the field a little bit, because that has been another thing. It just seems like Whittingham tells the coordinators to absolutely avoid the middle of the field in the passing game with these quarterbacks. So if we can get that, I think we can really open up the running game, get Bernard cooking a little bit. He had a great game the last time they played BYU, which was his only time playing them. Let's probably mix in maybe a little Jalen Glover. Don't know the status of Mike Mitchell, but Glover had 4 carries last game a couple weeks ago against Houston. And honestly, he looked really good. I think his first one went for 19 yards or something. So if we can get that going, I think we can maybe start moving the ball a little bit on offense. Joseph, I was just kind of talking about what I thought we needed to get this offense maybe moving the ball a little bit, which was, easy passes for the quarterbacks, get that running game going, and then see what we can do. Play action off of that. We've got a lot, that opens up a lot if we can get that working, but we just haven't been able to this year.
Well, you know what else too? That Houston defense, as much as Houston has been bad this year, Houston statistically did have a very good defense. And I don't think they looked terrible when they were playing. Right? It wasn't like our offense just looked terrible and their defense was terrible. It was just, that was a pretty good defense. Like, it wasn't an elite defense, but just to give us some more hope in Bajakian there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Houston's done pretty well on defense this year. It's their offense where they've just absolutely struggled. Similar to Utah football. I don't think they're on the same level as Utah football.
Yards. They threw for 25 yards and they beat us. That was, the stat line was embarrassing.
They ran for over 200 though. We can't let BYU get LJ Martin going. I mean, he's a dangerous running back. I think it's LJ Martin, right?
Yep, LJ Martin. Yeah, I've been watching him too. He's nasty. I've been watching him since early in the year. I've noticed him. Yeah. Well, and what's funny is I feel like Utah fans have been pushing back on me hard for talking about the rushing defense, but it's funny. Houston was the pinnacle of it, but I've noticed it probably 4 or 5 games now where it's like, hey, we are getting run on. And there was a couple really good running backs, right? But it was like, okay, so Cam Scattaboo's really special. Okay, so Xavion Williams really special. So how many guys are we going to say are really special before we just say, hey, maybe we have a problem with this rushing defense? Like, the defense, to be clear, not the reason we're losing the games, but to act like that's, even Witt starting to talk about it, like it being a problem.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts on that. Injuries have played a part in a big way. The linebacker play has not been very good. With Karene Reed out for a bunch of games to start the year, putting Lander, with that green dot, quarterback of the defense, it's just something he's not used to. And it's been obvious. His play suffered in a big way. And then, we finally get Karene Reed back, and then we lose both interior defensive linemen. Tonavasana and Tafuna were both out last week or last 2 weeks ago at Houston. So hopefully we have a healthier defense this week. I think we probably will. I haven't heard anything as far as the extent of any of the injuries, but I don't think it was anything too major. I think Karene Reed's was the worst with that, what looked like a high ankle sprain that kept him out for a while. But Connor O'Toole came back.
Do you know, are we going to have a full strength defense? What are we looking at? Do you have any insight on that?
I don't know. I think we will, just kind of judging, from, what we're hearing from practice and just kind of judging from what I think the injuries were. I think they were really minor, just, 1 to 2 week type deals. And then having the bye week sprinkled in, I think is going to pay dividends to get some of those guys back. And if we have our full defense back, we could really shut this BYU offense down. I think they're a little bit better than average. I don't think they're great. I think there's weaknesses to it, and we can maybe expose some of that, maybe get some turnovers.
Well, I don't know about you. I was looking at PFF grades for Jake Retzlaff. I don't know if you heard this earlier in the show, but his PFF grade's really good. It's like an 86, which is that's through the roof. But you look at it like this offense, it was like 34% third down conversion on offense. And think about how atrocious our offense has been to watch most of this year. And we're at 29%. Like, they're barely better at third down than we are. I think that's alarming to me. And our defense is the number 2 third down defense in the country.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is them kind of setting themselves up to go for it on fourth down. They do that a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen in this game in their own territory. It wouldn't shock me, to be honest. That's just something that they do. Sitake is, pretty aggressive when it comes to that. And, maybe that is why they aren't so successful on third down. They're trying to just, cut that yardage in half to set them up for a reasonable fourth down.
No, yeah, that's a good point. And I actually think that I haven't looked at it yet. I'll look at it right now. But I do feel like that has actually been an area where our defense might be struggling, is fourth down defense. If I'm just off the top of my head.
And third and greater than 9 is a real struggle for Utah. We have a tendency to just send the house and one-on-one on the outside, and
Arizona State.
it's been every game. I mean, there's been at least 1 or 2 every single game, and that's frustrating. And I don't.
That was
what's his name? I do.
It was number 16, just breaking the tackle and rolling out 4 in a row. That was like a nightmare to watch. I couldn't believe what I was watching. First time I ever felt like, yo, Scally, what are you doing? Like, what is it?
and I've been frustrated this year, but I do want to reiterate this. I am not blaming the defense whatsoever. The defense has been a solid defense for Utah again this year. Is it their best? Absolutely not. Yeah. Is it enough to win a bunch of games? Probably be undefeated if we had just a mediocre offense. Absolutely.
Yep, I'm with you 100%, Brian. Man, it is good to catch up with you. Anytime you want to come on, you are more than welcome. And it's been, I'm sure you feel the same way with how, disappointing the season's been. You still want to be, doing this. It is, just so the fans watching at home, it does take a little extra effort when we're getting our teeth kicked in every week.
It is, like I talked about wind in the sails. It takes a little bit of the wind out of our sails too, but you know what? It's still fun doing this, and I enjoy talking Utah football. I enjoy coming on your shows, and I enjoy doing our X Spaces when we do them. Glass Half Ute on Twitter usually hosts, and we go in and have a really good group discussion with a bunch of knowledgeable Utah fans too. So not trying to promote here on your show, but it's
an awesome X space.
It's just
halftime. The great thing about spaces is you just throw it up, right? Like it's not like you don't need to be at your, like, how this is. I have to be in my office at my camera with my microphone. All you need is your headphones and your phone, and you're in an X space with 40 people, right? It's
I mean, you should have seen my fiasco trying to get into this. I haven't been on my personal laptop in forever, and it wasn't working. I had technical difficulties. I finally just fired up my phone and put it on a stand, so I'm on my phone. But but with the X Space, that's all it is. I just hop in on my phone and hold it in my hand, and we just go to talking, and it's just a fun thing to do. And we enjoy doing that. I love coming on here, and I've had a blast doing these shows with you as well. And man, I appreciate the invite coming on tonight, and I'm ready to get a giant victory this week against the top 10 team in the nation.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, Brian. If just know that in the post game, if we beat BYU, obviously I'm going live. I'm on the East Coast now, so it's going to be freaking, what is it, 2 a.m. or some crap? I mean, this is these late night games when you're living on the East Coast. Oh my God, dude, that is late. That is no joke.
Yeah. Even being Central time zone like me, it's brutal. I can't imagine 1 hour later. So, but if you go live,
that last cup of coffee, like you don't drink it before, like you don't drink it early. You sit here like, I'm gonna have a 9 o'clock cup of coffee. All right, Brian, I got someone else waiting in the background. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Great to see you.
Thank you, Joseph. Let's go Utes.
Go Utes. All right, guys. And real quick, I'm going to tell you guys why I had to jump off for a little bit there. I don't want to leave my guests in the background too long, but I do feel like it's worth touching on. So about 45 minutes before I started this stream, all of a sudden, I'm in the living room, and I live in kind of in the city now. Not like city, but in the city enough where there's a decent amount of traffic and stuff, right? There's stuff going on. And there was a loud bang crash right outside my house, and I go outside, and my neighbors go out too, and I'm not kidding you, there were 2 cars that crashed I'm right on the curb, like when you turn, that's where I parked my car, and the cars crashed, and one of them bounces, and I'm not kidding you, this is my car, this is how the car crashes, like it looks for sure like they hit my car, but you go up and it's just like an inch away and they didn't hit my car. But anyways, I was waiting for the cops to come. They told me not to move my car until they arrived. So that's it. Anyways, back to Utah versus BYU. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, my guy, WildUte. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's rivalry week, baby. Let's go.
could be a little more exciting, but definitely a good opportunity for us to turn the season around a little bit.
This changes everything if you win this game. It gives you momentum going into the final stretch, going into next year, spoiling BYU season, the number 9 team in the nation, maybe even eliminating from the playoffs. So, come on, there's everything to play for. This really is it. This is it. Like, out of every single game we play, we have to get this one. We have to give everything it takes to get this one. No more crappy play. Like, seriously, we played crappy football, offensive football, and crappy special teams for multiple weeks. I'm sick of seeing it. It's time to play a good football game. And if we play a good football game, we can win this football game.
No, you're getting me amped up. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, damn, guys, figure it out. Like, it's go time. It's do or die. And Brian and I were talking about in the last segment, we should be healthy. We're going to be about as healthy as we'll be all year, especially on defense. Like, do not let this team beat the crap out of you running the ball. Because if you do, it is going to be a long night. Because LJ Martin is legit. He is a mean running back. But at the same time, I have a ton of faith in this defense to get the job done. And really, at the end of the day, it's more, can our offense sustain some drives and make some things happen? Why don't you tell me where you're at mentally, WildUte? Who do you want to be starting the game? Who do you think's going to be starting the game? And how do you think this thing goes?
It's been nice having a bye week. That Houston loss was tough, and it's been really quiet, in Ute communities this last week and a half. Yeah. For rightfully so. I mean, it's been a huge bummer. We haven't had a win for a month and a half since Oklahoma State. It's been a long time. I can't remember a stretch like this quite for the Utes. I know. It needs to change. How are we the 4-4 team in this game and not the 8-0 team? Like, there's nothing that makes sense about this, right? So the mentality is like, we've got absolutely nothing to lose. The Cougar fans right now, they got shafted in the CFP poll. They should have been ranked higher. They got the 9 ranking. But really, they should have probably been the 7. So I know in Cougar spaces and everything, they're talking a lot about their discontent with their ranking. And one thing that's an element of this game is like, is that going to be a distraction? Like, think about every time Utah's come in, game day's been here. Like, it seems like Utah always gets lost in the moment in the biggest games when a playoff berth's on the line or some massive game that we've got to get done. And one thing I do know about BYU is they're full of ex-Utah coaches. So they've lived that before. Is the moment with all the chatter, with all the playoffs, top 10 and everything going on, all the BYU distractions going on, is that going to matter in this football game? Because Utah has nothing to look forward to outside of BYU looking them freaking straight in the eye right here for this game. There's nothing else that matters to Utah. This is everything for the season now. And for BYU, they got everything to play for. They've got they're in the national championship hunt still, right? Like, they technically have not been bounced out of anything. So they have everything to lose in this game. And Utah has really nothing to, outside of just beating them and stuff and changing the movement of this program stuff, there's nothing to lose for the Utes. Nothing at all. Like, you're expected to lose this game almost.
Well, and it's like Utah is kind of looked at as a terrible team, kind of nationally, right? Like, we all know they're not. They just have some, like, they're a very good team that has some stuff they need to figure out, right? And BYU fans know that too, right? Like, where it's like they know that Utah could beat the crap out of them, but nationally, people are not going to look at it as Utah beat the crap out of you. They're going to look at it as, hey, a 4-4 team that hasn't won a conference game beat the crap out of you.
If Utah loses, or if BYU loses this game, I would have to imagine that they're probably out of the hunt unless they win the Big 12, right? I mean, like, that'd be one loss. If you ate 2 losses, you're definitely out of the playoff hunt and everything. So, yeah, it's not going to look good on those guys. And they have all the pressure on their shoulders. It's a 180 from where it was in the past when Utah had the big expectations. So it's kind of a fun dynamic from that perspective, just having nothing to lose. Like, hey, if we win this game, great. It's a nice changer and everything. But really, if we lose this game, we've lost 4 games in a row. Like who gives a crap about a bowl game? I could care less about a bowl game. Get some better recruits during bowl season. That's what I
was
care
thinking
about
that
going
too.
into next
What
year.
this does recruiting wise, like we lose this game, that's another punch in the gut recruiting wise. Like BYU is going to have a special year and they're going to come into our house and beat us. Like this is, I feel like on that end it is, but the players, they're not going to care that much about recruiting, right? It's more about pride, right? They want this, and it sucks so bad. Because do you remember 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago when we were like, this sucks? Like, why did we lose this game? And then it's like for 2 years, or 3.5 years, it's like we are clearly the better team. And then right before we're about to play them again, it's like, oh no, things are not going well. What are the odds of that timeline? That is just very
really bad odds. And like just to add more to that, Utah's been a betting favorite in every single game this season. We're 4-4, but we had the line. The money was on Utah to win straight up in every single freaking game. This is the first time Utah's been an underdog. I mean, we were a favorite versus Northwestern last year. We've been a favorite for a lot of games, right? And we've dropped a lot of these games. But now finally we are the underdog, a true underdog in this game. The line opened at 5 points. It's moved down to 4. Folks kind of think it's going to get tight. And in the big question, really, I know that you guys are talking about running the football and stopping the run. The biggest fear that I have going into this game is really if BYU gets hot early. Utah does not have the firepower to get in a shootout, and they have not proven that they can come back in a football game and win it.
Yeah, if they're up 14-0 with how our offense has been, it's going to feel like there's a straight up mountain decline. It's not going to feel like, hey, we just need to score a couple of touchdowns. It's going to be like, oh my God, how are we going to get back in this game?
So if they get up 10 or 14-0, BYU in the first quarter, I don't know how we come back either. We cannot let that happen. We can't let that happen.
Which is, it is a Utah thing. We are amazing. I feel like we're really amazing. I don't have the data on it. Early second quarter to late third quarter, we have this elite defense, right? We'll let some crap happen at the beginning of the game, then we get really good and then slowly wear down, right? I'm sure you have a similar thought. I want to ask you, let's talk quarterback, right? Where were you at last week? I mean, I know Brandon Rose, it looked a little good. I thought he looked looser, just like he actually looked like he was ready to be in there. Whether he's more talented or not, that's a different question. He just looked like he wasn't scared, right? He didn't. I want to know what you think, who you want to be the quarterback, and what you think we need to do to ignite a spark in this passing game.
Well, I don't want to lose Isaac Wilson at the portal, especially going somewhere in the Big 12. I think that's everyone's worst nightmare if he turns out to be the player that we think he could be. That said, with that thought process, Brandon Rose is the guy that could get you the win. I have a hard time seeing Isaac Wilson get us the win based on exactly like you're talking about. It's all about the swagger. We have 0. I don't know what it is, maybe because of Wilson's inexperience, but it just looks like it just looks labored, and it looks like there's 0 confidence, not just amongst Wilson, but the entire team, everybody. And when Brandon Rose came in there, he's been in the program now for 2.5 years. He just brings this new swagger. He even looks like it too. He's got the face painting on, everything. He's a guy that has confidence. So I just feel like in a game like this, a one-off game, he's going to give you the best chance to win because I think he could rally the troops better than Isaac Wilson. I think as far as leadership today, I think they'll go die on the hill with Brandon Rose over Isaac Wilson. Given what's happened in the season, in the future, I hope it's not like that. I want Wilson to stick around, but I want to win this game too, and Brandon Rose is probably the best ticket for it.
Well, and I think the other thing nobody's talking about, right? There's always players get better over time, but I don't think it's wise to bank on that for sure happening. How this is. I think we can all think of times in our own careers where we took a next step and things were much more difficult than we thought. And it wasn't, it took a while to get, and even I've been following football so damn long, dude. Whether it's Utes, Jets, I've seen so many quarterbacks not work out that to think that you're just going to bank on a guy developing, that's crazy to me to lose games, to bank on a guy developing recruit, like, so he doesn't transfer, right? I'm not saying I don't think Isaac Wilson's going to be good. I hope he is, but I do think we've seen a stiffness and a tightness, like I don't know. It's just, it's like all the tools are there for him to be good, but it's like, you know how it is. He has like this athletic ability to scramble out and make plays. But I don't know about you. When he is one-on-one with the guy in the open field, I have like zero confidence he's breaking a tackle or making the guy miss. He looks very stiff.
We've seen it once. Oklahoma State, he ran for a first down, like on a third or fourth that we had to have, and he got it. Like, I don't know what the deal is after that game. Like, he's just been a different player. He's been playing like he doesn't want to get hurt. He's been playing like the moment's too big for him. Like, if he plays up to his potential, like in the Oklahoma State game, we're a different team and stuff, but he can't be playing the way he has been playing because it kills the whole team. It just like, it kills like your whole swagger and like your confidence to win this type of game and everything. And Rose, look, I don't know what to expect from Rose. Like, he looks right now, he's got 0 career touchdown passes, right, and 1 interception at the end of the game. Like, we know that he looked good in spring ball a couple of years ago, and then he got hurt, before the season and everything. Yeah. So we don't know anything about Rose. You've looked at his tape back in the day and stuff. He's a gunslinger. Yeah. We know that. And he looks like
he could run on his tape in high school too. He could move.
I just like the fact that somebody's bringing some life.
Yeah.
I want life,
like you said,
man.
Swagger. Like this, like it's hard to explain. Like, it doesn't matter what the stat line says. It's just like, if it's 3rd and 15 and the pocket breaks down 100 times, you'd rather have him. You get like the guy, like it reminds you of Cam, where it's a looseness. It's an understanding of the game and a calmness in pressure.
And maybe Wilson can get that next year if he stays in the program. But this year, it's just not been there. I don't think it's going to be there for this game. So I want Rose to start. And we'll reevaluate after the next 2 weeks, right? If Rose throws a couple stinkers, then it's back to the drawing board again. But hey, if Rose plays well, then we might have a quarterback to the future. Keep this in mind. Rose is a sophomore. He's only a sophomore, right? And Wilson's a freshman, so he's got 1 less year of eligibility. But in this transfer portal age, you don't know if you're going to keep a player year to year. So really,
and redshirt. It's not like he can't redshirt next year, right? Like not that he would want that, but it's like, hey, if Rose were to take off and look amazing, it's like, well, Rose could potentially go pro. I'm not saying he would, but it's like, and then Isaac sits a year. And one thing I also want to touch on about the quarterback thing, this whole banking on a quarterback, right? Like, Isaac Wilson's the future. I hope he is. The problem is, you remember a couple of years ago when Charlie Brewer was this big transfer quarterback we got. So, because I really think if we like don't start trying stuff and see if we have some magic, some sauce in this quarterback room, which I think Brandon Rose to me is the gamble on that. We're going to go into this offseason with a super raw Isaac Wilson, right? And Brandon Rose, who we didn't start, or he's probably going to transfer out. And it's literally going to be, we're going to bring in a transfer quarterback. And the truth is, Utah is going to get a B, C tier transfer quarterback. Probably a B tier, right? Like a good one that has some potential. But we are not going to get the guy that Oregon's getting or the guy that, Alabama's getting. We're going to get a guy that is good. Like, maybe in a really good scenario, we get a Will Howard. You get what I mean? Like right. Best case. But I don't think that's what Ohio State wanted. For Ohio, like for us, that'd be a win. For Ohio State, that's like, I'll have this happen. So, but I just wanted to say, I love Isaac Wilson. I want him to do great. I would just hate to bet all the chips on that. And then we go into the offseason, grab some transfer that's dog crap, and we're looking at another year of just awful QB play. So.
You're spooking me with that Charlie Brewer comp to Isaac Wilson. You're spooking seriously, like, is that's the last time the offense had the same vibe. When Charlie Brewer was in there a couple of years ago, it just looked dead. There was no life.
I wasn't even confident, but now that you're bringing that up, it does remind you of it. It's like Charlie Brewer, you couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. It wasn't there. Whatever it is wasn't there.
Exactly. And I think, and you know what, you kind of ask yourself, like in the locker room, what's going on? When Charlie Brewer came in and stuff, like the locker room wasn't behind him. I don't know what the deal is with Isaac Wilson. The guy has leadership traits. He says the right things. He comes from pedigree. Like, I don't know why the team won't rally behind him, but they won't.
Yeah.
And that's only in the locker room, only like Mekhi Bernard. Maybe that's what his comments were about. Like, why can't this team get behind Isaac?
I was about to ask you,
NIL
what do you
money or
think
something
Mekhi
that we're
Bernard's-
unaware of?
Yeah, well, yeah. What do you? That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think Mekhi Bernard's comments were about? You think they were about Wilson?
I think so. I do. I think it was about Wilson, and I think that it was more about the quarterback room because so much NIL funding went into that room, right? Like, so the smoke's been like, Utah's a $7 to $8 million roster, NIL wise, and everything across the entire roster. Quarterback, we know Rising's, almost $2 million himself, right? And then we don't know what Isaac Wilson got. He's a 4-star recruit, coveted in the state. I mean, he could have got a nice payday too.
Yeah.
And so if the quarterbacks are playing that poor, Rising's out, Wilson can't perform, and all of a sudden most of the money's going to those guys, that's going to cause a cancer in the locker room.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what's going on. Like, that you can't have underperformance. Look at Florida State. Florida State had a huge payroll on that roster. They brought DJU in. And stuff.
At least we're not having the season Florida State's having. At least we're not having that.
Yeah.
That would be rough.
Like, they hate being on the team, and they just have no cohesion in the locker room. It's like the same type of things that are going on at Utah, but it's worse over there. I think it has to do with NIL funding though, and that he's just not living up to what you're expecting, and the expectations were so high, and you fell flat. The people basically put the blame on him. It's not his fault. You take the money. I'll take the money too. Anyone's going to take the money.
Well, and just none of the criticisms of Isaac Wilson is more of a criticism of just where we are at quarterback, right? No one should expect Isaac Wilson to be good yet. He shouldn't be in there right now. It's scary that. Do you think the fact that he's starting? I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but the fact that he's starting, is that do you think that's an agreement behind closed doors and whatever NIL contract, or do you think that is them actually thinking he's their best shot? What do you think? Are they worried that he's going to transfer if they don't start him? What do you?
It's 100% worried that he's going to transfer.
Yeah.
Because in the state of Utah, the Wilson family is like royalty. Let's just be honest about it with Zach, with the parents and everything. So I think that there's just a lot of hype that came with him. The player that we have on the roster that gives us the best chance of winning is Sam Heward. I think he's out for the season now, but he's the guy that came in. He's the 4th-stringer, guys. He's a 5-star freaking recruit from the past. Didn't work out at Washington because Penix beat him out. He played at JUCO Bowl or whatever last year and had a great season. The guy's game ready. Put him in. I think he's hurt now.
Bro, 2 months ago. Oh, dude, our quarterback room's so good. We got Cam Rising. Behind him, we have Isaac Wilson, ton of talent. If he's not ready, Sam Heward is a previous 5-star. And then we got Brandon Rose. Now it's just Brandon Rose and Isaac Wilson. And Luke Batari. But I've heard some people mention him. I thought he was serviceable against Colorado, and he has some swagger to him. But there's a reason he's not the starter in these games, right? It's like he gives you a very low ceiling. It's an okay floor, but you could feel the ceiling was low when he played. He's not making mistakes. He's a decent. I mean, if we're at halftime and you send the first guy out, you pull him because he sucks, and you pull the other guy because he sucks, throw in Batari. Like if we're not getting anything and we just need someone to not screw it up, put him in there. I could give it in. I want to win this game. I'm not a guy that, trust me, dude. You're a Jets fan long enough. You don't bank on quarterbacks. I'm telling you.
Sam Heward's sitting there, and he's out for the season. I think it was announced that he had a season-ending injury. What the heck's going on with that? By the way, how are we having so many injuries over the last couple of years? How's your quarterback room getting so hurt? Sam Heward didn't even play a snap. This guy could have saved this dang season. He might be the starter next year. He's probably going to take a red shirt this year. He's going to be a senior next year. He could start freaking next year. He's got the biggest arm on the team. And so you're looking at, okay, who are the options? Rising's gone, Heward's gone. And so you've got Rose and Wilson. But Tyree's not really an option, right? We both know that. He doesn't have the talent level. Yeah. But Rose might. And Rose got swagger. And that's why he's the best chance to win this game. I mean, it's that simple.
Well, and the other question with Heward is, was he because we've seen poor play from Isaac for a while. Do you know when the injury happened?
Nobody knows that.
Because that's my question is hey, why wasn't he in here 3-4 weeks ago? Why was he in here? But maybe it happened a while ago because that would make a little more sense, but who knows? All right, man. Well, I want to let you go. Before I let you go, what's your prediction and why? Go for it.
Utah 25, BYU 24. 25-24. Utah must keep it close early on, or else it could truly be a runaway. And no one wants to see that going to the game. I'll be super pissed if it happens. Don't let it happen. Utes aren't going to let it happen. They're going to have a good game this game. And it's going to be tight, back and forth fight. I think Utah ends up going for a 2-point conversion to win the game 25-24 in the end of the game. And I think that this game is going to be all rushing. Jay Hill's going to be ready for it. But luckily, Rose doesn't have a lot of tape. So you use a quarterback run and rush the freaking football and like throw the tight end on a short pass. That's all I want to see from the Utes. You got to get turnover, at least one turnover, maybe more. It's going to be weird atmosphere and everything. I just brought this out. I got to show you this. So do you remember Max Hall? Max Hall?
Yeah.
I made this shirt a long time ago here, okay? So Max Hall a long time ago said that, hey, Utah's classless. The fans are classless. We're all classless, right? And Max Hall has all the class in the world. But check it out. Right after that comment stuff, this is what I'm wearing to the Holy War. So, hey, check it out.
Cool.
You gotta own it. Classless Utah. Just be who we are. Play tough-nosed football. Play physical football, and take that 2-point conversion and win the game.
Awesome, Ayu. Hey, thank you so much for coming on, man. I think all the fans appreciate it, and I know I do, man. Have a great night.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take care, guys.
Well, always good to have. We had a great cast on this evening. That was a great group of guys. I always appreciate them. San Antonio Ute, Porter Larson, WildUte. Made a lot of videos with San Antonio Ute and WildUte. So always, it's like a throwback. So I always appreciate having them on. Real quick, before we get out of here, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on what we need to do to win this game. What is in our favor, and then kind of what I really think is going to happen. So right out the gate, Isaac Wilson should not be the starter. Here, let me figure out these headphones. Okay, Isaac Wilson should not be the starter. I have a ton of faith in the kid. He really seems like a great guy, and no hate towards him. I really still do believe he can be Utah's future quarterback. And I hope, if there's any chance that he is listening to this, that he's aware of that. Like him not being the starter today, like any coach that's putting you in to start games when you're not ready, clearly not ready, is not your friend, right? Like if some other school promises you the world, it's like, dude, if you're not ready to be the starter, you shouldn't be in there. It's only going to hurt you, right? Like I mentioned, I'm a Jets fan. I watched his brother, and I'm just as hardcore about the Jets as I am the Utes. I just don't have a channel for the Jets. I focus on the Utes. So I just want to make sure you guys understand it. Like I watched Zach for a while. So if Isaac happens to be watching this, understand that I watched Zach for a while, and I watched the Jets just consistently put him out there when he wasn't ready. And I'm guessing Zach would tell you the same thing. And it was tough to watch on all ends, right? That wasn't fun for anybody, and it wasn't good for anybody. Brandon Rose, maybe we see a quarter or two of play in this Holy War, and it's clear Brandon Rose isn't ready either. But what I saw, I hope to God that we do not let that one interception be a reason Brandon Rose is not the starter. That would be criminal. Like he looked very fluid, very loose. It just felt like you had a chance to make some explosives. And if things were there, he was going to take advantage of them. I think that's a great way to put that. And I hope we start Brandon Rose. That's where I'm at. And that could be a huge mistake. We could go out there. Brandon Rose just sucks, right? But I don't think that's what's going to happen. And I think we'll get some ups and downs with Rose. But guys, the ups and downs are better than what we've seen for the past 3-4 weeks, where it is just no offense the whole game. Like, yes, Isaac had that one huge bomb in the TCU game to Money Parks, which was a nice throw, right? But the explosives are important, right? But continuous, sustainable drives are so much more important. And we need that. And we need a quarterback that can capitalize on that stuff. So I really, really adamantly hope that Brandon Rose is the guy. Just give him a shot. See what he can do. We have literally nothing to lose. Straight up, nothing. Anyways, moving on. I mentioned it earlier with Porter, the turnovers. So BYU has a huge turnover margin in their favor, and Utah has a terrible turnover margin not in their favor. So I'm going to pull that up. And obviously, you're in charge of whatever you create, right? And so BYU They're number 16 in the country for a plus 0.9 turnover margin, so might as well be +1. And Utah is negative 0.4 for turnover margin. And that puts them at, or puts us at 98th in the country. So very poor turnover margin, especially for a Utah team that's uncharacteristic. And the reason I bring that up, I've heard some people mention it like it's a good thing. Turnovers are very hard to predict, right? It's one of those stats that's going to swing up and down. Like I mentioned, it's kind of like really close games. It's tough to predict how really close games are going to go. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, right? And I think it's a worthwhile point to say BYU, their luck scale is really high right now. A lot of turnovers, a lot of close games they've been able to win. And Utah, our luck scale is very poor right now, where we've had very few turnovers. And we have had a lot of close games we haven't won. And I believe it or not, guys, that's kind of a good thing. And for sure, it's a good thing in the luck factor. We kind of are owed one, and BYU is not a significantly better team than us. I don't think anyone feels that way, right? It's kind of they're a hot team with some momentum, and there's no reason Utah can't win this game, right? It's like, anyone acting like we don't have a shot is out of their mind. We just need a spark of quarterback play on offense, guys. And I brought up the number, guys. We are one of the very worst third down offenses in the country. This is so, like, you can go look at whatever stat you want, guys, like whatever stat you want. This is the number, the third down conversion percentage. We are 128th out of 134 teams with only 29.25% of our third downs being converted. And the other thing, guys, like I talked about, third down, BYU's not even that much better, and they're undefeated. This is another like luck factor. Like, how is BYU? They're 114th at 32.93% third down conversion percentage. That's really low, guys. And I think, again, I mentioned it. I clarified that a good amount of that is them going for, setting themselves up to go for fourth down. But you can't live off fourth down conversions either. Yeah, look, this is a fourth down conversion. They're one of the top teams in the country, 85.71% on fourth down. I think this is a great number for Utah. 85.71% for BYU on fourth down. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Their luck is through the roof. Not that they're not a talented team, not that they don't bring some good stuff to the table. Their luck is through the roof. Turnover margin. It's they're getting a lot in their favor, and they are ready to crack. This is what I think. Now, all of this is dependent on some sort of offensive play. Renee, if we play like we know we can, we got this locked in. If we pull out this win against the Wild, we win the rest of the season. Yes, and I think BYU will lose the rest of their season, at least one more game, and hopefully not make it to the CFP. I would love to be the team that takes that away from them. Trust me. Anyways, just in general, though, Matt Stoll seems like a straight shooter. Says, you sound very hopeful, relying on luck. I think Matt. The problem is it's the opposite. I feel like BYU is riding on luck. So to think that BYU is like a surefire win in this game, or very likely to win this game, is thinking that their luck will continue. So I'm gonna push back a little there. I'm gonna go ahead and take a wild guess that you're a BYU fan. But I think BYU has gotten a lot of luck, and a lot of the coin flips have landed in their favor. I think you're coming into Utah's house. Utah has been starved of luck all year, and I think they're due for some luck. And I think Brandon Rose being the starter at quarterback it's the right call, first off. No matter what, if he goes out there 3 picks in a row, still the right call. Pull him, put Isaac back in, but we need the spark. We need to make something happen. And we saw a little bit of life and a little bit of swagger. I think that seems to be the term everyone's using, just a looseness, a swagger, a confidence in him that we haven't seen, right? And so this is how I see it going. 24-20 for Utah. That's how I think we win this game. 24-20 for Utah. Tight game. We're not going to – I don't think we'll see a wildly good offense. But damn, I would tell you guys this. Everyone's acting like Isaac Wilson is the surefire future of this program, and I hope he is, guys. But if it's Brandon Rose, do you think I'll give a damn that Isaac wasn't the guy? Like, Isaac will care, but I want a good Utah football program. I'm a Utah football fan. I'm an Isaac Wilson fan as well, but that is trumped by the Utah football part of things, right? I want a good Utah football team. And if Brandon Rose has a coming out party against BYU and looks awesome and just kicks ass, I'm going to celebrate the crap out of that, and I will not think twice about who's sitting behind him. I will just celebrate the fact that we found our guy. Let's get him paid heading into next year, and let's ride with Brandon Rose if he's the guy. If he's not, let's find that out, because we know for sure right now Isaac doesn't look like that guy. Again, I could be eating my words in a week where Brandon Rose goes in, or this weekend, Brandon Rose goes in, sucks, gets pulled, Isaac goes in, looks amazing. Again, I would celebrate that and be really happy Isaac Wilson worked out and that we have a quarterback of the future. But right now, we don't have one. So, guys, ton of fun tonight. I appreciate all your time. I hope you guys enjoyed the guests, enjoyed the stream. I hope this gives you guys some enthusiasm, some, optimism heading into this game. It is not this no-win game that some people are making it out to be. BYU's also had a hot 3 games that have boosted a lot of their numbers. So I think we look really good in this matchup. We'll be a lot healthier. We'll have some guys back that we haven't had, hopefully. 24-20, Utah wins the game. If you haven't already, guys, smash that like button. That'll help get it out to more Utah fans. Also, comment down below. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We put out a ton of Utah Utes football content. And one last statement. Earlier in the week, Red beat Blue in the election. And I think Red's going to beat Blue this weekend as well. I'm out of here, guys. Go Utes.